I was born in 2004, and it didn't take me so long to start watching and playing soccer. This is a photo of me and my father watching a soccer game when I was about months. And this is me in the football court when I was about 1 year old. It was something that came with me when my mom gave me birth. And what my parents didn't know was that I would develop this in the future and it would become one of my biggest passions. Those little moments would induce a huge part of my history. In the same year, about 1 month before I was born, an enormous winning in Brazil, my country, was being born too. A winning that maybe in that moment it had no meaning to me, but nowadays, this history is also part of my story. The women's team won their first Olympic medal, and it was not their first victory inside or outside the field, and neither the last one. It was a spiral moment that would originate a generation of winners. I have a question for you. What is the first thing you think when I say the word ballet? Have you ever watched soccer? But have you ever watched female soccer? Probably no. And if so, it's for sure last time you have watched male soccer. So, let's talk the importance of soccer. Soccer is considered one of the most universal languages in the world. It is everywhere from big cities in Europe to really small cities in the middle of any countryside. You may not like to play or even watch it, but it's true. Soccer is a universal language and connects people in a simple and different way. Here in Brazil, for example, soccer can connect a whole country in at least 4 years during the World Cup. And like I said, you may not like it, but you'll probably get reunited with a group of friends and family and wear the Brazilian uniform. You may not even pay attention to the game, but you'll be there anxious and waiting for the team to score. Because it is kind of a tradition here. It is something that has been passing through generations and somehow is in our DNA. Soccer fans are kind of a big community. I have been to a lot of Flamengo's game in Maracanã, and it doesn't matter the importance of the game. Being there cheering with strangers I've never seen before and hugging them like they are part of my family, it is something out of this world. I probably not see that again. But in those moments, I feel a connection with those people who are sharing the same passion as me. The feeling of going to the stadium and cheering for a team is something magical. It doesn't matter the sport. If you're a fan and have been to stadiums, you know what I'm talking about. However, during this whole pandemic of COVID-19, I could feel the sadness of all the Brazilians who had the routine of going and nowadays not being able because it is still closed. And isn't it a bad feeling? How would you feel not being able to go to the stadiums and cheer for your team? Like me, I'm sure you miss that too. And watching people from Europe and the US, doesn't it feel unfair for other nationalities? Well, there was a simple and silly way I had to explain the reality of this woman that had this unfairness her whole life. Sahar Kodayari, a 29-year-old Irian football fan, dressed up like a man so she could go to the stadium with her friends to watch for the first time something that she really loved. And because of that, she was charged of going to jail because it is forbidden in Iran. So she set fire on herself because she didn't want to go to jail. And unfortunately, she couldn't resist. That's the price some women pay just for their passion for the sport. This tragic event showed that our world is much farther than it should be. Did you know that in some countries, women are not allowed to go to the stadium? But these connections go much farther. As a universal language, soccer is a bridge that connects people from different places around the world. As an icebreaker, I'm almost sure that if someone gives you a ball, you kick it. This is the kind of video some people from TikTok produce. Video of them giving ball to random people on the streets and automatically they kick it back. Have you tried? Another bridge that not only soccer, but all the sports can help us to go through is ourselves. Soccer can create a path to our inner personalities. Regular exercise have a true impact on depression, anxiety, and ADHD. I can remember how many times I was so stressed and worried about the school, the pandemic, some personal wishes, my entire future, that I didn't want to talk to anyone and do nothing. All I wanted is to go away from all the things I was overthinking and try to have fun while I'm in my element. I just wanted to slow down and be myself for a moment. And for some people, soccer is their only and last option to keep smiling. It's their source of power and resilience. I could talk a whole day about people who had and are having their lives changed because of soccer. But I want to take a little time of my speech to talk about a woman known as Chichi. Chichi grew up in a very poor place in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, and having soccer as a passion gave her choices. The choice of learning how to love and have discipline, the choices that many girls from where she is doesn't have. Not becoming a prostitute or going to the armed robbery. And what Chichi made with all of those choices was showing kids like her they can have choices too. That they could respect themselves and each other and see some hope. And what I'm more impressed about it is how she deals with the ball. Not only teaching football skills for the kids, but teaching them some important subjects like how a virus can be spread and we unfortunately don't see it. Did you realize the importance of soccer? How a girl can save lives through it? Well, the idea of minimizing girls is probably because of our unconscious bias. An automatic thought that was used a long time ago for our ancestors to survive the savannah. And it is still used, but differently. It is a way our brain gets to give quick answers to some questions and we don't even realize it. But this bias can't have the right to keep girls out of the world of soccer anymore. Women have been playing soccer since the sport exists, or trying to actually. It is believed that soccer has been played here in Brazil by women since 1921, but in 1941 there was a law forbidding soccer here, even though girls tried to play Helena. But in the 30 years you couldn't even be seen playing because something would happen to you, like being arrested. All of this was created about the society rules and thoughts, most of them created by the militaries in the government. According to them, it wasn't in women's nature to play soccer, and they came with false doctor arguments that it will be bad for their health and they wouldn't even be able to have kids. And this law lasted for about 38 years, when in 1979 it was taken down. But still, playing soccer here was seen as something bad for that society. Only in 1983, the sport became regularized and you could have the competitions before on schools and be played on stadiums. In 1988, FIFA made the first tournament as an invitational tournament for women to play. And women in Brazil couldn't lose their chance. They didn't have a uniform. They wore the men's old uniform that was going to trash. They had to stay in the army accommodations and cook their own food. All because our country didn't want to invest in us. But with no simulation and no priority, we won. We got the 3rd place. After this, women's soccer continued to be treated as something amateur here in Brazil. And after almost 40 years forbidden, the only motivation for girls was their passion for the sport. And with no simulation, again we won in 1999 our first official medal in the World Cup, at 3rd place. Meanwhile, men's soccer was growing more and more every day with the help of sponsors, big companies, and the most important one, the media. They didn't have to fight for play. It was much easier. While we couldn't play by the law, they had already won 3 World Cups and it was a phenomenal in Brazil. But why? Brazil is known as the country of soccer, but why such a difference in genders? Well, that has influenced women's soccer history and it has influenced my history too. I've played soccer since I started to walk in my playground with my boyfriends, and it was always something natural. If I knew how to kick a ball, I was accepted and was just like them. But when we were about 8 years old, all of my friends started to go to places focused on playing soccer. And I wanted to. It looked so nice, but the opportunity weren't the same. At that time, all the places my parents tried to find near my house were only for boys. At the moment, I realized that I wouldn't be able to play soccer just because I was a girl. I was so confused when my mother told me that I wouldn't be able because I was a girl, and if I wanted to practice a sport, my best shot was trying something else. And I did. I tried swimming, ballet, artistic rolling, ping pong, and even playing some instrument. There was a moment in my life that I got used to the fact that playing soccer wasn't for me. Then I decided to forget and enjoy like always playing the playground or at school with my friends. After all of that, when I was in the 9th grade, I had my first experience playing a female inside tournament at my school. It was a project made by some of the students who realized that every year there was a male tournament and some girls wanted to play it too, so why not? I didn't know most of the girls I was playing with because I was new at school, but I felt so belonged there, and somehow just participating in those games helped me to remember my passion for soccer. And all I wanted was to play the sport I've always loved. So for me, the experience was great, but only lasted for about 3 months. And I was so interested in playing again, but again, I didn't have a place. It was only in 2020, when my physical and my mental health were not too good, that my doctor said I had to practice a sport. Then, after so long, I started to search football as a training again. Then, after so long, I found a place that is not near my house and is not cheap. But thanks to my mother, I'm able to practice there, because I have the opportunity to accomplish one of my childhood wishes, train soccer. After all of those years, I'm able to do it. But my point here is, I live in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We have 4 of the big states here. I live in the big city from a big state, in the country of soccer. And I'm only having this opportunity because my mother can afford me and drive me there. Imagine how many girls have lost their chances because they didn't have this opportunity. If for me, that live in a good neighborhood, have good accommodations, have a car and someone to drive me there, it was so hard to find somewhere. Imagine for those girls who live in the middle of the countryside or in a small town. Imagine for those ones who can afford it. And imagine for those ones who can even play on the streets because something could happen to them. I have talked about it. Brazil is known as the country of soccer. We have good players, we have the best one. So what does it take to invest? The chance I'm having is for some people a small thing, but for those girls it may be a golden chance that unfortunately, because of the minimal investment, is a distant wish for them. It didn't take me so long to understand that if I wanted better opportunities, my best shot was traveling abroad. To the US, they had this whole structure of putting the sport as something important there, mainly for teens and kids, because they are their next generation and they are concerned with them. Big universities there have this sport as a requirement to get in. and stadiums where the students can cheer and support the team because the sports there are part of them. But on the other hand, if a little girl might think I'm having the best opportunity ever, and as I've always thought, Americans are giving and have the best opportunities for girls,
this American goalkeeper thinks differently.
in her experience, Europe gives better opportunities, and she went there for it. It is a huge world of opportunities, and here we don't have any. And there's this situation that most of the girls I know, including me, have been through. Whenever we say we like to watch it or play soccer, that we always have one or more boys asking an entire question about it. Some random questions we have to answer to prove we like soccer. Some questions that they don't even know the answer to, but they ask just to make us look silly in front of them. And there's this specific question that will always be in those experiment questionnaires. A question that have been chasing girls since before I was born. I'm 99% sure that if you are a girl and told to some boy you like it soccer, they probably ask you this question. If you really like soccer, tell me what offside is. If you don't know, this is offside. But when this question is made by some boy for a girl to prove she can like soccer, offside is much more than this. Offside is when a girl is left off the world of soccer, when you turn off the opportunities to women to play and work with soccer. Since that was the sport, women have been playing soccer, but we often play by our own. Women here in Brazil have been dealing with and fighting against multiple obstacles that have been delaying the sport here in our country. But it is impossible to have a comparison when there is no equity and not even equality. And all of these difficulties are the consequence of the devaluation and disrespect for us. We all know it's much harder for something to grow if only one side is trying hard, and in this case, women. On one hand, there's the hard work and their passion for the sport of the crew and of the people who work with it. And on the other hand, they are still treating the situation as an amateur thing. In this case, the sponsors, the media, and even some teams. We can now notice that, for example, that by the fact that it is optional for teams here to put the women's player's name on the back of the uniform, like it is in the men's one. It maybe looks something small, but besides helping the referee, the narrator, and the fans to recognize the players, it is a way to recognize the professionals who are playing by giving them the minimal, their names on the shirt they are wearing. For some teams, it is something they don't want to invest pocket money, letting the female soccer besides. And I could talk a whole day about the minimum interest in female soccer in Brazil. And again, we're not asking for a golden t-shirt. We're asking for the player's name on it. We are not asking for a best treatment in the world. We're just a chance to play. We're not asking for millionaire salaries like some players receive, just for a fair one. According to Dribladores from Wall, the average female players in Brazil receive a wage about 3,000 reais per month, something about $600. According to extra.globo.com, the 20 teams from Premier Series A just invest 1% of their budget in the female soccer. Flamengo, for example, invests 1 million reais in the whole year for all the categories and people who work with male soccer. The same money that Gabigol, its main striker, receives per month. And why is that? Why does Brazil keep declining the modality here? Again, we're not asking for each player to have the payment of R$1 million per month. And I'm not saying that that player doesn't deserve it. He's a great player and he's recognized by it. So why can the girls be too? Give us the opportunity to show our talent. Let us speak the universal language that is growing more and more every day by playing, working, or broadcasting it. Let's go through and exercise the equity of gender in the sport. According to Globesport.com, when Globo broadcasted the Female World Cup in 2019, the audience was more than twice than the last time, in 2015, when it was not broadcasted by Globo, growing from 42 million people to 108 million people. Broadcasting the game in the biggest broadcast company from Brazil gives visibility from the sport, inducing more people to know and be closer to it. According to teleco.com.br, in 2019, 70% of houses in Brazil only had TV accessing to open channels. So, global broadcasting it is for sure something that impacts a lot. That shows that media is a big influence in this whole world. And putting the sport there and giving people the place to watch help us to expand it. From it, clubs and the squad can have more visibility and generate sponsors. And for sure, broadcasting is a bridge for the development. After the numbers of the audience in the World Cup, Brazil has got their first exclusive sponsor for the women's soccer. That has sponsored not only the squad, but all the Championship Series A too, promoting opportunities for women to have more access every day in the world of soccer. It gives credibility for the players and the whole crew too. Step by step, women are being recognized by their work. A slowly process that may have taken some growth opportunities, growth that couldn't wait for the world to be a fair place. But at least we are having progress every day. More and more girls are not letting their passion behind and going for it in the world of soccer. I left my passion for soccer behind for a long time. But when you love something, you have to go for it and try as hard as you can. And being in this world of soccer has been giving opportunities I never thought I could. This place we are right now is far from perfect. But with the hard work of all the people that love, respect, and have soccer as a passion, and their work, female soccer is growing little by little every day. We have the talent and dream for growth all around the world. So this is an invitation for companies, broadcasters, teams, influential people. Let's make the dream of all those girls who want to play or be somehow involved with the sport. Let's help everyone who wants to speak this universal language speaks. Your marketing is for sure going to help the sport to grow and be more popular. It is time to everyone to start practicing the equality of gender and growth. Let's do it. It will be hard, but let's work harder every day. We can do it.